I'm Lauren Mitchell, 32, and I used to think silence was strength. Until an email from the bank told me I owed $4,987.52 on a $750,000 mortgage in my name, a loan I never took. Then I saw the address, 982 Lakeside Terrace, the exact house my sister Vanessa once called her dream home. She made it real, with my identity. If you're watching this, hit like, subscribe, and tell me where you're tuning in from, because you won't believe how I turned the tables after the deepest betrayal of my life. The clink of a crystal glass snapped me back into the present. My father was raising his second pour of Pinot Noir, nodding along as Vanessa regaled our parents with her newest real estate conquest. I stared at the untouched casserole on my plate, trying not to think about the 11-hour day I'd just wrapped up. I'd closed a complicated portfolio for a retiring client, a deal that would finally put me within reach of my own condo after 3 years of disciplined saving. And the house has this gorgeous bay window overlooking the lake. Vanessa beamed, flipping her hair over one shoulder. Caleb and I are almost ready to make an offer. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Mom said, smiling wide. Lauren, maybe you could give your sister some financial input. You always have your nose in those spreadsheets. I looked up, startled. You want me to… Vanessa cut in, laughing. I'll probably need your credit score more than your advice. The whole table erupted. Caleb chuckled. Even Dad smirked. Only Ethan, sitting beside me, didn't join in. Later, in the car, Ethan's voice cut through the silence like a thread snapping. Why do you keep showing up for people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared? I had no answer. My fingers gripped the edge of my coat. We'd had this conversation before. He saw what I refused to admit. The hierarchy was unspoken, but clear. Vanessa sparkled. I was serviceable. She entertained. I solved problems. 3 days later, I stood in my kitchen, still in gym clothes, sipping weak coffee from a chipped mug, when my phone buzzed with a Wellspring Bank notification. Payment due. $4,987.52. I blinked. That couldn't be right. I opened the app. Mortgage loan, 6 weeks old, total amount, $750,000. My heart stopped. I hadn't taken out any mortgage, let alone one that size. I scrolled again. Name, Lauren Michelle Mitchell. My own. I dropped the mug. It shattered, coffee soaking the floor tiles. My breath came short and fast. This had to be a mistake. Maybe identity theft. Maybe fraud. Maybe… My mind raced back to a night 3 months ago. Dinner with Vanessa. I'd had 2 glasses of wine, and when we stepped outside, my purse slipped from my lap into the snow. I didn't notice until I was halfway home. By then, Vanessa had already called and said she'd picked it up for me. I had brushed it off. Thanked her. I bent down to pick up the shards of ceramic, hands trembling. A dull ache formed in my temples. 3 years of saving. A decade of spotless credit. Gone? I needed answers. I dialed Wellspring's hotline. The wait music felt like needles poking behind my eyes. Finally, a voice answered. Thank you for calling Wellspring Bank. This is Angela. How can I assist you today? I kept my tone steady. Yes, I need information about a mortgage loan that was opened in my name. After verifying some details, Angela's voice softened. Yes, Ms. Mitchell, the loan is real, and it's tied to a property at 982 Lakeside Terrace. The address on the mortgage paperwork wasn't just a street name. It was Vanessa's dream on paper, funded by my name. I remembered that day so vividly now. Months ago, Vanessa had yanked me out of bed on a Sunday morning, insisting we tour some aspirational properties in Lakeside Heights. I thought she was just fantasizing again, pointing at wraparound balconies and soaking tubs like she had a claim on them. I'd laughed when she whispered, "One day, I'll live here." But she wasn't dreaming. She was plotting. I sat stiffly in Gregory Lane's office, the stale scent of carpet glue and old coffee making me nauseous. He adjusted his glasses as he flipped through the digital loan file on his screen. Everything matches, he said flatly. Tax returns, driver's license scan, e-signature, credit pull. It's all tied to your identity. But I didn't sign anything, I said, my voice low and dry. Gregory tilted the screen toward me. This is your signature, correct? It was, but not quite. The slope of the L looked off, like someone had mimicked it using muscle memory instead of instinct. I stared at it for a long moment. This kind of fraud, identity theft through digital documentation, it's getting more sophisticated. Gregory added, if you're willing, I can escalate this to our fraud investigations unit. I want to pursue this fully, I said, no matter what it takes. Back home, I opened Instagram and typed Vanessa Ross. There she was. Sun-kissed, manicured, all teeth and filtered confidence. And there, right in the middle of her grid, a photo of her and Caleb in front of the slate gray Colonial at 982 Lakeside Terrace. She wore a cream trench coat and held a sold sign like it was a trophy. The caption read, "Number sign, blessed number sign, hard work pays off." I wanted to laugh and scream. The likes were pouring in. Old classmates, distant cousins, even our Aunt Janet commented with heart emojis. Caleb left a string of clap hands. My name funded this illusion, and no one knew. Ethan came over that night. He brought takeout, but I barely touched mine. When I showed him the post, he was quiet for a long time. This isn't just theft, he finally said. It's an assault on your future. I looked at him. She didn't just steal money. She stole years of planning. My credit. My stability. Then it's time to get it back, he said, pulling out a worn leather card from his wallet. This guy helped a friend of mine once. You need someone who knows how to trace digital fraud. Logan Price looked more like a barista than a private investigator when we met at the cafe near my office. Wavy hair, sleeve tattoos, and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. But once he started talking, I realized he didn't need to look the part. He was the part. Efficient, precise, and terrifyingly calm. She's careful, Logan said, scanning Vanessa's social media on his tablet. But not careful enough. See here? He tapped a zoomed-in image. That delivery box? I've seen those used for high-end electronics. I'll trace the order. By the end of the week, Logan had receipts. Literally. One from a tech supply store downtown. Vanessa had paid cash for a private tutorial on PDF editing and digital signature replication. The clerk remembered her. Called her friendly, but asking a lot of weird questions. That's your smoking gun, Logan said, sliding the copy across my table. At midnight, I was still awake. Ethan dozed off on the couch, one arm slung across his chest like a shield. I opened my email out of habit, and a spam folder I rarely checked pinged open. There it was. Subject: prepare to be surprised. Sender: vanessa@rossfam.org. It was an invitation. The housewarming. I stared at the digital card, all soft fonts and watercolor florals. It was scheduled for next weekend. Family only. Dress code: upscale casual. Vanessa wanted to show off, wanted everyone under one roof so she could bask in applause. I felt something shift in me. Hot and cold, burning and calculating. She wants to show off the house to everyone. Fine. I'll be the guest she never expected. They invited me to a celebration. I brought receipts, signatures, and the bank. I hadn't been back to Lakeside Heights since that open house months ago, but the address was burned into my memory. And now, officially onto legal records. The gate was open, probably for the caterers. I parked one block down and walked the last stretch, phone clutched tightly in one hand, spare key code in the other. Using the appraiser's lockbox code, printed plainly on the closing documents filed under my name. I opened the door to the house that was never meant to be mine, yet now bore my financial scars in its foundation. The inside was pure spectacle. Marble countertops, gold-accented fixtures, velvet throw pillows that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A $12,000 bedroom set, according to the receipts we'd photographed earlier, was proudly staged in the primary suite upstairs. It was like stepping into a Pinterest board curated by a narcissist. Gregory arrived first. Neutral suit, polished shoes, eyes sharp behind his glasses. Logan followed, dressed like a furniture delivery guy but carrying 2 copies of the receipts and a flash drive in his shoe. Ethan came last, blending into the flow of the incoming staff like he belonged, quietly setting up his recording equipment in a discreet corner of the living room. We moved quickly. I'd chosen early arrival for a reason. No interruptions. Gregory documented the interior, murmuring asset values under his breath. Logan slipped duplicate files into the kitchen drawer under the silverware, another beneath the guest room mattress, and one in the hollow base of a decorative vase. Redundancy was safety. This wasn't just a confrontation. It was insurance. I walked through the house slowly one last time before the guests arrived. Every opulent finish screamed of someone who'd never truly earned any of it. And yet, my credit score, my future, had bled for every square foot. Ethan met me by the staircase. "You okay?" I nodded. I've waited years to stop being the girl who bites her tongue. He reached for my hand. "Then don't bite it now." I slipped away to the powder room and changed into a black midi dress. Simple, unfussy, intentional. I smoothed the fabric with both hands, exhaling once before walking out. Minutes later, the front door burst open. Vanessa, laughing too loudly, arms draped in shopping bags and entitlement. Caleb trailed behind, balancing a tray of macarons and 2 phone chargers. They didn't notice me at first. Not until I stepped into the center of the foyer, beside the oversized floral arrangement that probably cost a week's salary. Vanessa froze. Her bags fell to the floor with a muffled thud. I turned toward her, slow and deliberate. "I got in with the spare key, because I'm the legal owner on record." Caleb blinked. "What?" Vanessa's voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" Lauren smiles. "What I should have done years ago. Stop you." The housewarming party had music, champagne, and custom napkins. What it didn't have, yet, was the real homeowner. From across the street, I watched the backyard flicker to life. Strings of fairy lights blinked like a cheap dream, draped over pergolas and crisscrossed above the buffet tables. Music pulsed softly, something acoustic and safe. A DJ in suspenders adjusted knobs while guests clinked glasses and praised the stunning renovation. I'd walked through that same kitchen earlier where Logan had wedged a flash drive behind the spice rack. No one here suspected that the person who technically owned this house was watching from the shadows. Vanessa stood near the fire pit, radiant and emerald green, her arms moving like she was narrating a TED Talk. Caleb stood beside her, smiling but a bit distant, nodding politely to guests while his eyes occasionally flicked toward his phone. They had a rhythm, her spotlight, his silence. I stepped forward. Gregory walked beside me in his slate gray suit, professional but unsmiling. Logan hovered just behind with a small satchel containing backups of every receipt, screen capture, and notarized document. Ethan waited near the back gate, monitoring the audio feed through a tiny earpiece. Every angle, every backup, secured. This time, I wouldn't be the one left gasping. Vanessa raised her champagne flute and cleared her throat. "Everyone, thank you so much for coming. This home, it represents more than walls and paint. It's about dreams, hard work, faith in something bigger than yourself." Guests clapped politely. I waited until the applause began to fade before stepping through the French doors. Several heads turned. One woman tilted her phone camera slightly. Another whispered something that made the man next to her raise an eyebrow. Vanessa froze. Caleb's eyes narrowed. "Lauren?" I kept walking, each step precise, each breath measured. "Good evening," I said evenly. "I hope no one minds a surprise guest." Vanessa's eyes darted toward her parents. Deborah smiled, confused. "Lauren, honey, Why didn't you tell us you were coming? I turned slightly, letting Gregory move beside me. Because I wasn't invited, but I have every right to be here. Gregory opened his folder. This is an official notification from First Central Bank's Fraud Division. A $750,000 loan was approved using forged documents. Identity theft, to be specific. The name on that loan is Lauren Mitchell. Gasps scattered through the crowd. Vanessa's face tightened. This is absurd. Gregory raised a second sheet. We traced digital signatures, metadata from PDF files, and recent charges for software used to falsify ID documents. The evidence points to deliberate intent. Logan stepped forward, clicking his tablet. A muted video played. Vanessa sitting at a tech store kiosk, headphones on, watching a tutorial on editing signature fields. Her voice could be heard faintly, asking questions. Someone from the upper balcony began filming. I saw the red record light blinking in the reflection of a nearby window. I reached into my folder and unfolded a crisp sheet. This is the deed. Because of the forged loan, the property was purchased under my legal identity, which makes me, I held up the paper, the rightful owner. Deborah's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the stone patio. Charles took a slow step forward. Lauren, this can't be. Caleb looked at Vanessa. You used her name? She didn't answer. The crowd's murmur began to grow louder, questions piling over questions. I turned toward my parents, letting the silence hang just long enough to burn. Still think I'm just overreacting? Charles opened his mouth, then closed it. Deborah stood frozen. Vanessa stepped toward me, her eyes wild. You'll ruin everything. You did that the moment you signed my name. The fairy lights outside still glowed faintly, but inside the house, the atmosphere had turned brittle. Guests had scattered. A few murmured excuses and slipped out quietly. Others lingered by the buffet table, pretending not to stare. The music had been turned off. The laughter had evaporated. Vanessa sat on one end of the marble kitchen island, hands clenched in her lap. Her shoes had been kicked off, and a deep line had formed between her brows. I stood across from her, a leather folder in my hands, Gregory beside me. He was calm, collected, as always. But even he couldn't hide the tension wrapping around the room like static. I want to be clear, I said, unfolding the papers. This agreement doesn't erase what you did. It simply gives you a chance to walk away with some dignity, assuming that still matters to you. Her mascara had smudged beneath both eyes. She looked smaller now, stripped of the practiced sparkle and that high-octane confidence she wore like armor. I didn't know it would go this far, she whispered. You didn't care, I corrected. When I was 25, you asked me to sign over Grandma Mitchell's fund because you were between jobs. I didn't hesitate, and you never gave it back. She looked away. This time, I'm the one writing the terms. I slid the papers forward. Camille Howard, my attorney, had worked overtime with Gregory to draft the agreement. 2 options had been made clear during our call in her office just hours earlier. Press charges now, or offer Vanessa a civil resolution with terms ironclad enough to crush her if she so much as blinked wrong. Gregory tapped the page. Sign here to agree to full transfer of the property to Lauren Michelle Mitchell within 30 days. Failure to comply triggers legal escalation. Clause 4B requires financial counseling and optional therapy sessions with a licensed professional specializing in compulsive deceit and financial misconduct. Vanessa's lip curled. What, therapy now too? You lied, repeatedly. To your husband, to your parents, to me, I said, voice low. And you falsified federal documents? You don't get to scoff at healing. From the corner, Caleb finally spoke. You said this house came from your dad's retirement. You said it was an early inheritance. She didn't answer. His voice cracked. You lied to me for months. Gregory remained silent, watching everything with a lawyer's detachment. Vanessa swallowed. Her hands shook slightly as she reached for the pen. One by one, her perfectly sculpted nails began to peel away as she scratched at her cuticles, tearing off the pink polish like it burned. She didn't notice the blood where her thumb had split. The pen hovered for a beat. "You didn't think twice when you signed my name," I said. "Don't expect mercy now." She signed. Caleb walked away. Not Vanessa stayed frozen, hands still gripping the pen like it might anchor her to something real. But her image, flawless, curated, enviable, was gone. Shattered. I closed the folder, sealing the agreement inside. "You have 30 days," I said softly. "And if you violate even one clause, I'll press send to every legal agency in the state." Gregory leaned closer, his voice just for me. "Would you like to file the report anyway? Let's keep it ready. But for now, let her live with what she almost got away with. It wasn't revenge. It was reclamation, with documents, dignity, and the truth." Sunlight spilled through the kitchen windows of my new apartment, warming the hardwood floors I hadn't fully gotten used to yet. A candle flickered on the table beside me, vanilla and cedar, and the soft hum of jazz drifted from Ethan's playlist in the background. The calm felt earned. I scrolled past another repost of the now viral video. Me, standing calmly beside Gregory, the deed in hand, while Vanessa's voice cracked in disbelief. The caption read, "Woman exposes sister for $750,000 fraud live at housewarming." 5 million views. The comment section moved faster than I could read. This is what accountability looks like. She didn't just survive, she fought back. This happened to me too. Thank you for years. I thought no one would ever believe me if I spoke up. Vanessa had always been better at spinning stories, charming crowds, but the camera hadn't blinked. And for once, the truth didn't need to scream. It just needed to be shown. I glanced at the unopened certified envelope on the counter. The final notice. Full legal transfer of the Lakeside Terrace property. Effective immediately. I hadn't even touched it yet. I already knew what it would say. Ethan walked in, 2 coffees in hand. "You ready for brunch or still watching the internet praise your name?" I smiled. "Bit of both." He sat beside me, nudging my shoulder with his. "So I've been thinking. There's a 2-bedroom loft downtown, river-facing, exposed brick, insane kitchen." "Sounds expensive," I said lightly. "It is," he admitted, "which is why I was thinking mortgage, together, with both our names this time." I blinked, not out of hesitation, just surprise. Not long ago, I was fighting to reclaim a home stolen under my name. Now someone was asking to build a home with it. I leaned into his side. "Let's schedule a viewing." Later that afternoon, my parents stopped by. They didn't bring flowers or even excuses, just a cautious knock and downcast eyes. Deborah looked 10 years older. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "We didn't know, Lauren. We saw what everyone else saw." "I know," I said softly. "We just thought she was trying her best," my father added. I nodded. "She was trying her best to get away with it. And you let her." Silence fell between us like a curtain. Deborah finally said, "We're sorry." I studied them. 2 people I once would have bent backward to earn approval from. I needed to protect myself. That includes keeping some distance. She nodded through tears, and they left without pushing back. That night, I called Camille. "It's official," I said. "The house is mine." There was a pause on the line. "Congratulations. I want to donate it, all of it, to a housing nonprofit." Camille sounded surprised. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I replied. "But make sure the deed reads, 'Donated by Lauren Michelle Mitchell.' Only my name." We said our goodbyes, and I closed the folder. The apartment around me exhaled, a quiet peace filling every corner. I finally felt like I'd stepped into the life that had been waiting for me all along. Then my phone pinged. One message, from an unsaved number. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope someday we speak again." I stared at it for a long time, then let the screen dim without answering. Not all storms are meant to be weathered. Some are meant to clear the air. The storm passed, not with thunder, but with signed papers and a truth that refused to stay buried. What was stolen wasn't just money, but trust, dignity, and years of silent endurance. Yet, in reclaiming her name, she reminded everyone watching that justice isn't always loud. It's precise, deliberate, and undeniable. Like the final page of a long, conflicted chapter, it turned slowly, but decisively. Because no wall of lies can stand forever against the tide of truth.